Thanks for joining us on this morning on ITV. What you see is basically because it's live. Well, we're going to be looking at the issue as regards the early campaigns. Started off in Nigeria, political space, and all that has to do with it. Most especially where Serap has criticized it and said that, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the INEC chairman, should be bringing all of these sanctions, on political parties and airing politicians to make sure that they serve as deterrent to others, most especially when we are having early political campaigns. And the implication of that is that it brings about poor governance, where resources that were supposed to be meant for infrastructural development and fixing the economy are rather diverted to political campaigns. Well, in all of this, the ruling party, APC, has been indicted also in this challenge. But, well, discussing this with me, starting from my guest immediate left in the studio, I have a legal practitioner. Now we'll be looking at the legal aspect and see what implications that has to our statutory legal system. Emmanuel Obakbolo, big thanks for joining.
Pretty good morning to Nigerians. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning. Next to Emmanuel Obakbolo is a seasoned lecturer at University of Benin, a public affairs analyst, Honorable Frank Amigo. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to be having the presence of Ahmed Mamadou from the United States, Texas, Houston particularly. And he will be joining us. He's a social media influencer and, of course, a political analyst. Good morning to you, Ahmed.
Greetings, Philip. Good morning, gentlemen, and to all my wonderful viewers. I'm happy to be here once again.
All right, while we await the presence of Matthew Edegase, who will also be joining us via Zoom, let's throw the first question to you, Ahmed Mamadou, because looking at what we have here, where even APC, the Ruling Progressives Congress, has been indicted for, this challenge of starting campaigns quite too early. If you look at the reports, where, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu condemned this act of political parties and politicians starting campaigns quite early. The implications that it also comes with, looking at poor governance, looking at huge amounts of money that were supposed to be meant for fixing the economy and, of course, the welfare of the citizens, are being diverted rather into these political campaigns, giving us the impression that what really do they come into power for? Is it to really fix the economy or make the people better for it, ameliorate the plight of Nigerians, or for personal aggrandizement?
Again, Philip, thank you for inviting me to share my opinion on some of these burning issues of the day and to enlighten the people as much as possible. So let's dive into the meat of it. What is a political campaign? A political campaign is when political parties start either on time or prematurely to advertise whatever gains they've had or whatever issues they want to bring to the interest of the populace through either public jingles, awareness, articles, or general, drawing attention to whatever gains they believe they've made. Now, what is the issue? The issue is that as far as Nigeria is concerned, there is a timetable for when such activities are supposed to kick off. And statutorily, INEC is supposed to be the person that tells when those activities are meant to resume and the period which they are supposed to last before the elections and when all of these activities are supposed to cease. Now, the issue that we have in Nigeria is simply that the enforcement is lax, and some of these political parties take advantage of the fact that not only is enforcement lax, they have gray areas that they can use to kind of promote themselves, even though the period has not come upon. So what do? They kind of have jamborees. They have all sorts of meetings where they highlight their achievements, or if they are in opposition, they have meetings. You see, so when you say political campaigns, it is difficult to narrow it down to just a specific type of campaigns. For example, let me give you an example. If I was in the opposition party and I wanted to have political campaigns, I would go around the whole country having meetings with high-profile individuals and saying that they are just meetings. But that is a form of campaigning. It's a form of calling attention to the problems that the country is undergoing and how they believe that they are going to handle them better if the electorate give them that power. So these are all the gray areas that need to be highlighted and they need to be put a stop to. It's not necessarily only the people in government that are guilty of these things. The opposition is also equally guilty when they are talking about.
Amen, Mamadou, you still have the floor. Yes, you still have the floor, but let me quickly cut in here. We look at what is happening, even where we have in every city of the country. We have billboards of the president, and all of these are geared towards the 2027 big election. Don't you see this as an act of impunity by the ruling Progressives Congress?
I do see it as an act of impunity, but in the defense, let's play devil's advocate, Philip, if you allow me for a minute. By playing devil's advocate, what do I mean? When you put up a billboard of the president and you simply say, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu 2027, is that a political campaign? Sometimes it can be interpreted not to be. It can be said that all they are saying is that they are advertising their interest in 2027. Strictly speaking, a political campaign is where political parties gather people and then they start campaigning and then making either a manifesto or putting forward the things that they've done or highlighting the things that they will need to do. And vice versa, the opposition party in a similar circumstance, holding meetings, doing rallies, etc., is also political campaigns. The long and short of it is that we need more stringent rules that guide all of these things so that people don't keep on finding the loopholes and taking advantages of those loopholes.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Well, let's get your thoughts on this, Emmanuel Obakolo. You are a legal luminary. And we look at what the law provides. I don't know if there are sanctions because the Professor Mahmoud, the chairman of INEC, said there are no sanctions for early political campaigns. Or what did he not get rightly? Because if we are to coincide it with what Serap said, Serap is even of the fact that there are sanctions and that the INEC chairman should wake up to his responsibilities, otherwise face litigations.
It is unfortunate that the INEC chairman has continued to play the devil's advocate in many aspects with respect to the responsibility vested on him in his office. And to my mind, that is a shame if he can tell Nigerians and the world that there is no sanction. There are sanctions. The law, the Electoral Act, the Extant Electoral Act provides for penalties.
But the penalty is not weighty.
Whether or not the penalty is weightier, it is his responsibility to test that law.
Okay.
Has he tested the law? Why is he giving excuses? It's unfortunate that the only party that is indicted in these early campaigns is the All Progressive Congress, which is the ruling party. We see, like in Edo State here, go to Gulf Road. Everywhere you see littered with billboards. Tinubu 2027, a must. We even heard our governor here in this state saying that he was going to give the president 2.5 million votes. Sure. He started campaign already. And somebody will come, a sympathizer of the All Progressive Congress will come and tell you that the last speaker approbated and reprobated at the same time. He contradicted himself. He tried to define what political campaigns is, and he encapsulated even adverts as a political campaign. He advertised. He brought about billboard. He talked about meetings held by parties. He talked about it. And what has the All Progressive Congress did? Then at the end of the day, he's not coming to shield the All Progressive Congress by saying that the display of a billboard of the president for 2027 it can be interpreted in many forms. Who told him that? Is it because he's in the United States of America? Is he here? Does he know what the law says? It's unfortunate that when people want to say the truth, they begin to look for excuses, begin to look for defenses. Let me tell you, Philip, the president is jittery. The president is afraid. I say with all spine and blood that runs through my vein. And that is the singular reason. It is not the president that will tell Nigerians or his allies that will tell Nigerians to vote for him. No, it is not him. Let the president do the needful and see whether or not Nigerians will not clamor for him.
If you heard what he said, you still have the floor. If you heard what he said, he also said even the meetings held by opposition parties,
which opposition
would
party
also amount to a start of early political campaigns.
And he went further to create a shield by saying that the display of the president billboard can be interpreted in different forms. What is the meaning of that? See, the truth is this: the president is caught napping. The All Progressive Congress is caught napping in this matter. They are already in the web, and that is why you hear all of these defenses. For the fact that you, me, and Professor Mego here sit down to hold meeting, does that amount to political campaign? Does that amount to political campaign? See, the truth is this: is that just now it is not yet time, by virtue of the provisions of the law, for any form or manner of campaign. It is not yet time.
Okay, but the billboards we see, are they only to the ruling party?
Which other billboards? Which other billboard? We stay here. The man who stays somewhere across so many oceans is telling us what is happening here.
Maybe it's because you have not seen.
See what? I've been to the taxi state of the federation. There's no any other state with billboards, save for the state who have off-cycle election, governorship election, like Anambra. You can see that in Anambra, and that has to do purely with the governorship election and not presidential election come 2027. But here we see everywhere on the pages of the paper, even amongst individuals we hear everywhere Tinubu 2027. I don't know what manner of madness is that.
You spoke about sanctions. Let's hear it. Because if you want to tell me that the only sanction is paying to a tune of about 500,000 naira by anybody found wanting, or politician or political party, I think that's just a piece of cake.
Even if it is a kobo that is to be paid, has INEC been able to muzzle up, to develop shock absorber, to face the All Progressive Congress and take them to court to say, yeah, you have defaulted, pay the 1 kobo? Have they been able to do that? So he's not just saying that whether the law is weightier or the law is not weightier or the law is weak. After all, they are the drafters of the law.
Okay.
Then it is the responsibility of the court to interpret the law. Okay. And the court has discretion in the interpretation of law. So let INEC be bold enough first to take the All Progressive Congress, whom the president, to court and say, yeah, you have defaulted. And let us see whether other political parties will not sit up.
Let's get your thoughts on this, Honorable Frank.
Yes, it's quite unfortunate. The biases are getting too obvious. I want to believe that at each point in time, the INEC will have a timetable. But now, at the moment, they have not drawn up the timetable. That's why I think there are no sanctions. There is no way you can be campaigning where in 2025 for 2027 if you're not afraid. The fear is palpable. APC is afraid on the ground that there is almost near zero performance. If you are doing well, just like some persons are clamoring for the second coming of former President Goodluck Jonathan, people should be saying that.
What value has that got to put on the table?
Because it shows that while he was a former president, there were things that he did that the people want a comeback of such things against the backdrop of this administration in terms of decadence, poor policy implementations, so many things.
Okay, but the bold step taken by the President Bola Tinubu, in removing or implementing the template for removal of fuel subsidy wasn't taken by other presidents. Shouldn't that be a reason for you to also say that it shows his dogged and rugged for the job of presidency?
Philip, I wonder how you call that a bold step. I wouldn't agree with you, because otherwise I also believe that you are polarized in the direction of APC. That wasn't a bold step. It was a step without calculations. It took a step, with all due respect, without knowing the nitty-gritty of the office. If you want, the president at that point, that very day, thought maybe he was still campaigning. He forgot that he was now the incumbent president. You don't make such a bogus statement, no more subsidy. You have not resumed fully. You don't know what led to that. It's for you to know the the remote or immediate cause for or against the subsidy. People were just happy, not knowing the implications. So it was a political statement he made. It wasn't administrative.
Okay, but you speak about poor performance
Poor
or
performance.
low performance. I don't know if you are conversant with even what was read on the pages of the newspaper where it was reported that inflation has dropped. And of course, the economic policies where it was also tested that there are improvements under President Bola Tinubu.
Philip, I'll be surprised if you are aligned with that report.
I asked you a question.
Yes, I'm going to answer it. That's why I want to express my opinion about your agreement with that report. There are indices for the calculation of inflation. They altered the indices.
Oh,
They did. They
You
did.
saw it?
Yeah, yes.
Where did you see
They
it?
altered it. I'm talking now authoritatively. They altered the indices. It's just like I'm traveling to Lagos. Say Lagos is not far. After Edo, Ondo, Ogun, Lagos, that's Lagos. In less than 5 seconds. We have not talked about the road network. It's just like our colleague right there in Texas talking about Nigeria. It should leave that matter for us. We are resident here. If you are going to be in US, for instance, and you say between point A and point B is 7 miles, by the calculation in the US, you know how long it will take you to travel that distance. But in Benin, for instance, if you say the journey is 1 kilometer, you say no, in 10 minutes you'll be there. You say, now, 1 hour you're not there. The terrains are different. You don't use those calculations and use them there. Use them, bring them here. They don't work. So they altered the indices for the true calculation of inflation. If it was truly so, why are things like this? There are things they want us to know. Most times I don't, if you want to be very angry, you read the pages of the newspapers. That's the way I see it. You read because almost all of them have the same headlines. That means there was a meeting, maybe political, that led to that. Today, all of us will just showcase things like this. That all newspapers, in fact, there's no point buying 2, 3. Buy only one. It will illustrate the rest. The same headlines. So I don't accept that, and it's a national deceit, and that goes further to show the unseriousness or incapacity of the present administration. You don't have to alter things that can be recalculated. If you told us that inflation has dropped, showcase the calculations. It's not like in simple arithmetic. They'll ask you a question to calculate. You just run through and copy the answer from Barasaba Bolo and say the answer is 4.5. But the examiner want to find out what led to 4.5.
Okay.
The answer might be 1 mark, but what led to 4.5 is 9 to make 10. So what the government of the day is doing is to bully people into believing what they want us to believe.
All right, let's get to INEC. Do you see INEC as
INEC is
helpless?
unserious. It's an appendage of the APC.
Oh.
It's hard to believe. You are even wondering. It's an appendage of the APC. There's no fairness.
When you say INEC, or you mean INEC under Professor Mahmoud Yakubu?
So, yeah, so far, while APC has been in government,
Okay.
it's an appendage of APC. Take it or leave it.
Okay, let's get your thoughts. Ahmed, you heard what the guest said in the studio, most especially as regards, the juggled inflation records dropping. Some have said that it was manipulated. I don't know what your thoughts are like, and most especially as you also have the floor to react to all others that was said.
So thank you again, Philip. Let me quickly react to what those gentlemen said without trying to sound personal at all. I think we are the elite. When we come on the TV like this, we are the elite. We need to maintain a certain amount of decorum. So let us analyze. Let us first define what a political campaign is. Now, a political campaign is the effort to try and persuade voters and mobilize supporters. How is this done? It is done by communicating with voters. It is done by advertising. It is done by fundraising. It is done by strategic planning. And it is done by organizing voters. Now, in my first comments, you remember I said that it is not just a one-sided thing. If you look at all of these points that I have told you that campaigns fall under, you can find that not only is the APC indulging in it, the opposition parties are also indulging in all of these things that I've said. So just for clarity's sake, we need to always point fingers if we are going to point and be balanced in our analysis. Just as the APC is advertising for 2027, the opposition parties too are advertising for 2027. To say that it's only because the president is afraid doesn't speak the truth of the matter at hand. Now, you ask the other gentleman, what are the sanctions? And he started going left and right. The other gentleman came up and said that they are altering it because of one thing or the other. The simple matter of fact is that if you remove a personal attack on the president, any of the politicians that came out for the last election and came to campaign for the presidency, they all ran on the same principles and the same policies that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has come and put in place. They all ran on removing the fuel subsidy. They all ran on power devolution. They all ran on security, and so on and so forth. So when you come back and say the president is afraid, what is he afraid of? Even if somebody else comes back into power, or one of those other contenders comes into power tomorrow, are they going to go back and say we are going to put the subsidy back? Is that what they are going to do? Are they going to say the power situation is not bad and we are not going to devolve power to the states? Are they going to say we are not going to increase? Are they not going to say we don't have a problem with our taxation system? Are they going to say we don't have a problem if we don't have a treasury single account where all the monies of the federation are pooled before it is shared out? So some of these things we need to be practical, we need to be forward-looking. Now, as to the matter of the fuel subsidy removal, let us be clear, let us remember, because this is recent history. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in, he inherited the budget of the previous administration, and the subsidy had already been eliminated from the budget that he inherited. So all he simply did was to come out and announce that, look, as far as the budget I'm inheriting is concerned, there is no subsidy in it. And how is he going to now put in a subsidy where the National Assembly has not put the money aside for the subsidy? He simply announced what had already been a fait accompli by the previous administration. So now, let us go to the question that you asked, Philip. If I'm correct, if I remember correctly, you were saying, what is INEC'S position? Yes, I think you said, what is INEC'S position in all of this campaign? We need to be clearer in what the sanctions are. We need to be clearer in the time frame that it's allowed. We need to be very specific about the things that comprise campaigning and what falls under campaigning. You cannot just amorphously say when people come out and they put a billboard, they are campaigning, or when XYZ. No, it's broad. And I told you the components of campaigning. If you are advertising, you are campaigning. If you are fundraising, you are campaigning. If you are planning, you are campaigning. If you are organizing with your supporters, you are campaigning. Now, which of the political parties has not fallen short of one of these standards that I've told you? So let us not just be so narrow and myopic in our opinions of things. Yes, the APC is guilty of it. Yes, the opposition parties are guilty of it. But they are all, so where is there's a lacuna, that means that there's a gap that all of them are exploiting. And we need to call into INEC to close that gap.
Thank you, Ahmed. Basically, that's where we're going for INEC to close the gap. Looking at what transpired, where INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu said the electoral umpire, the laws, there are no sanctions, particularly there are no sanctions for early political campaigns. And that really brought in Serap to remind INEC of its legal mandate. And this is where we will be having the presence of Matthew Edegase, Esquire, a policy analyst. Good morning to you, Matthew.
Good morning, Phillips, and thanks for having me.
All right, it's critical.
Good morning, viewers.
It's critical what we are talking about right now. But what has transpired so far, the issues about early political campaigns, and the statement credited to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, where he said that there are no sanctions stricto sensu for airing politicians and political parties on the aspect of early political campaigns. Do you think INEC has a legal mandate to monitor this through with what the professor said?
INEC is chewing the cord when it ought to have spoken out against a flagrant violation of the electoral laws by the gladiators. How can INEC open its mouth and say there are no sanctions for campaign outside the timetable or lifting of the ban on campaigns? Why is there a timetable for election and timetable for campaign? Why is there a provision in the regulation that campaign stops within a particular period before the elections? Is INEC now saying that people can campaign non-stop and even campaign on election day? We should ask INEC chairman, what is the punishment for anybody who campaigns at the polling units? Since there are no sanctions, there's no limits. He's not saying the truth. He's just trying to pander to the interest of certain stakeholders. Why will he say there are no sanctions? If the electoral laws are for decoration, then breaches will become a duty. It does not behold of electoral umpire to speak as if he doesn't know his job or his duty. Definitely, elections are regulated, political activities are regulated by INEC and the extant electoral laws. So for him to say there are no sanctions for anybody who campaigns outside the time frame allowed for campaign is confusing himself, because that is not a statement to emanate from somebody who knows his duty as an electoral umpire.
Okay, Matthew Edegase, you still have the floor, but let's criticize that a little bit, most especially as regards the sanctions that you may be telling us about what the Constitution has to say. Because I perused a little bit some sections, I think in section 95 of the 1999 Constitution, which spoke about the aspect of a 500,000 naira fine for airing political parties, you know, that are involved in campaigning after the end period. Because supposedly we are not supposed to see, you know, campaigns 24 hours to the election. But for airing political parties and their members, they are also made to face this to a tune of 500,000 naira as a fine. Don't you see that as ridiculous? Because some have said there seem not to be strict sanctions on this. And do you see the need for a reform where the electoral umpire will be able to, you know, track all of these finances and their limitations, you know, in terms of political campaigns and their financial, you know, limits that is supposed to be codified in the Constitution?
Sanctions are sanctions. Even if it is a penny that you are going to pay as a fine for violating the rule, that is sanction on its own. But I go beyond that. It goes beyond. There is the sanction of disqualification from the contest. It's like a football match, any game. If you break the rules, you are disqualified. So what happened to disqualification? If somebody decides not to play by the rule in a tournament, you think any official, any organization will allow the player to remain in the game, in the tournament? If a candidate breaches the campaign rules, he stands the risk of being disqualified by INEC. INEC is the umpire. They have the yellow card, they have the red card. So why are they not going to issue it against any recalcitrant candidates? Are they at the mercy of the candidates who are supposed to be playing by the rules and under their supervision and regulation? If that is what they are saying, then INEC has lost its relevance. They have lost its power. So there is nothing like there is no sanction. Okay. Disqualification is a very powerful sanction against anybody who refuses to play by the rules and go against the extant rules and regulation.
Thank you. Let's give each of you a minute to react to this question. What, in your thoughts, should be the way forward where we can have a better framework or constitutional provision or electoral reform to make sure that we're able to, you know, nip this in the bud as regards early political campaigns?
Unfortunately, INEC has just opened the eyes of many Nigerians with respect to letting us understand that there are no sanctions. And just like my learned senior opined, the rules of disqualification is enough sanction. And if INEC is saying that maybe because of their INEC guidelines and regulation, because the last presidential election swept our foot off the ground, where we are made to understand that INEC rules and regulation is not a law, but a mere cosmetic rules.
That's
So
exactly what it is, because at the point
that's
it's
what the
tested in the
court-
court.
that's
The only
what
way
the
you can
court
tell
said.
the strength of the law is when it's been tested
That's
in
in
the
the
court.
court. And since and INEC now is leveraging on that to tell Nigerians that look, we cannot do anything. Then I think there is now room for the laws
Or reforms.
Yeah, for there to be reforms so that the law will not capture a very strong sanction, so to speak. Because since INEC is now hiding under the guise that its hand is tied behind the back, so we don't want an INEC that is an extension of the ruling party.
Okay,
We
but
want
whatever
an
reform that
INEC
you may be looking for, it's not going to target or capture issues as regards the 2027 mandate.
Absolutely, you know, and that is what they are telling us now. They are already giving themselves excuses. So INEC is just telling us that look, we are an extension of the All Progressive Congress.
Okay, let's get your thoughts on that, on how to tackle it headlong.
Yes, the way to tackle it is to truly make INEC, just like ITV is, truly independent. They are not. If they were, there will be no need for them to be afraid of the presidency, afraid of whosoever. INEC is afraid because Professor Mahmoud might lose his job. And once he loses his job, AFCC might go after him. You know? So at this point, the law...
When you said EFCC might go after him, what are your impressions? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a common thing in Nigeria. Once you are against the ruling political party and you misbehave, the next call is an invite. Just see us in the office. And he knows the implications of obeying or receiving the invitation.
Okay, are you trying to say that there could be some possible financial infractions associated with the office of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu?
Severally. Because there is no way, even if it's a friendly game, the referee, the football match, will still abide by the rules. Even if it's not an international game, there's no major competition. Even in training, when you have your team split into two, team A, team B, whereby everybody is the same, the rules are still applied.
Okay.
Not talk about something competitive.
Okay.
Then INEC decides to, they are not neutral really. They are polarized in the direction of the ruling political party. Okay. Because it was the ruling political party that brought them to the position they are in now. Our friend in the US was saying that this present president took over from another president. It's the APC. Is a manifesto of APC.
All right, thank you.
So there's no need to begin to praise this government over the former. It's the same thing.
You've long exceeded the 1 minute. Let's come to you, Ahmed Mamadou. In 1 minute, just give us the way forward in tackling this and nipping it in the bud.
Thank you, Philip. So, just for clarity, what the INEC chairman said is he did not say that there are no sanctions. He said there are no legal sanctions for political parties who campaign before the 150 days allowed by the Electoral Act. Now, the sanctions are more specific when you begin to campaign 24 hours before the end of polling. Those sanctions are specific. They are laid out in law. So he said, and he used this opportunity to bring it to the knowledge of Nigerians. There are no legal sanctions that we can put, and the law doesn't allow us specifically to go after people who breach this law. But this is also an opportunity for us to now say, okay, it has come to our knowledge. What do we do to close that gap? How do we make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Right,
that should be the challenge that we should be discussing.
Well, thank you for bringing that again to our knowledge that there are no legal sanctions. So it still remains that INEC seems helpless.
Yeah.
Well, Let's get your thoughts on this. Though you said INEC is not helpless, Matthew Edegase, let's get your thoughts on how to, improve on nipping this in the bud as regards early political campaigns, because in this whole issue, the ruling party has been indicted. But again, how can this be done tactically in a way that even the ruling party will have no option but to obey, looking at having stricter measures? Edegase. Martin.
It is not every day we wake up we'll be asked to reenact laws. Laws are not operated like chameleon, the body of a chameleon that changes color every minute. No responsible nation makes law every day. Look, when laws are there, when there are instant laws, you apply the law to the circumstance. You cannot tell me that the sanction against campaign after the 24-hour election cannot operate to stop you when you are campaigning outside any known timetable released by INEC. It's the same thing. The same thing. You don't have to make fresh law for that. The law already takes care of that. There is INEC that will declare when campaign starts and when it stops. If they have not declared the campaign open, why are you campaigning? It's as sanctionable as when you are campaigning when the campaign has been closed by INEC.
Okay.
So nobody should be telling me we need to go back to the legislative house and start making fresh laws. Nigeria is not the only country in the world. No country makes law every day and repeal laws every minute, because there are some persons who are habitually recalcitrant.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Well, there's an important topic we're going to be delving into, most especially as regards the new tax policy, where it has been said that if you don't have a tax ID, you can't operate a bank account. I mean, critically, you can't operate a bank account. And of course, having to do with, insurance issues or accounts or investment accounts and the likes. What could be the way forward for this? What could be the reason or the rationale behind this? Is it for bringing sanity in the economy or for more revenue drive under the administration of President Bola Tinubu? That we'll find out after this short break. While we had a break, there was a little argument as regards what actually could be the rationale behind, this, looking at the need for that law to come into circulation where without a tax ID, you can't operate a bank account and the likes. But just to let you know that this policy has been there, but just waiting for implementation. And we've always said that implementation has been a big challenge. Enforcement of what is codified has been a big challenge in Nigeria. But let's get a thought, because this is commencing January 2026. Honorable Frank, what are your thoughts about this? Or what do you see as the rationale behind this? Do you see this as a calculated attempt to increase revenue or for the purpose of sanitizing the tax environment?
Yes, as you introduced, it's not a new thing. It's been there. But want to look at the sincerity of purpose in this matter. The present administration at the federal level is looking for ways, means to increase revenue. And the revenue that will be so generated will never, quote me, will never translate to the development of the nation.
That's an act of being pessimistic.
I'm telling you the reality. It does not translate to anything. It's not a new thing. You just woke up one day, the president will need to visit 1 to 3 countries. There's not enough money. Oh, there's this policy. Let's enforce it. Somebody would have just raised that up. This policy has been lying dormant. Let's enforce it. First day of January 2026, as you say Happy New Year, you're going to see the enforcement. So it's not new. So it's going to generate more revenue for the government. And as I said, it won't translate to any development. Just like if you take your mind back to no more subsidy. We're told openly that that money for subsidy will be used for ABC. Whether it's uppercase A or lowercase a, we don't know the ABC we are talking about. There is no manifestation of subsidy removal. The same way you're going to bring in more revenues, the poor will suffer it.
Okay.
Because almost even children have, okay, it's not NIN. There's no civil servant in Nigeria that does not have a TIN. So it's not a challenge. So if the government of the day at the federal level decides to reawaken it, the reawakening is just to drag in more money for them to use. It won't translate to anything.
Okay, but if you look at the other aspect where even some are not even paying taxes at all, isn't that another challenge?
Those are not paying taxes.
Are you not sure this will also correct?
They are their friends. They are the friends of the government. They are not paying taxes. Politicians are not paying. If they pay, maybe it's just a tip of it, of the iceberg. They'll just drop it, and they commonly pay at the verge of political interest. Want to show forth their political interest, want to contest for an elective position. That's what they. I also want to draw attention to, like revenue collectors, or what do you call them? Revenue house, for instance. They have a way of manipulating it, and they'll backdate it. Civil servants, they have a way of backdating it. As they backdate it, if they're supposed to pay ₦1 million, you say, okay, write 20,000 naira, you take 80,000 naira. So there are manipulations here and there. So if there are persons that should be afraid, they are political leaders, not you and I. We pay taxes here and there. There's hardly anything you consume in Nigeria that is not taxed. There's nothing. Directly or indirectly, we are taxed. So to me, it's not a welcome development.
All right, let's see your thoughts in this, even though I know basically you're going to take the same line with...
I align with him absolutely. I align with him absolutely, I repeat. Look, we were told the national identification number was a policy by the Goodluck Jonathan administration. When late former President Muhammadu Buhari came up on board, they now said that they want to modify that policy so that they will link it to every phone number. By so doing, they will curb insecurity. What is the position today? All the phones we are purportedly told have been linked to NIN. What is the position of insecurity today? So, coming on board to tell us that they want to link TIN with bank accounts, though I read that the purpose was to ensure that people pay tax, then two, that it will only be for corporate accounts, those who want to operate or run a corporate account. That is why where it is mandatory, as we are told. I read on the papers. Now, but looking at that, absolutely there is nothing wrong with tax identification number. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But all the monies that will be accrued, I don't know, the same money that will be used to travel to India, travel to Brazil, travel to Japan, travel to France, after every five days. We have just been told that the president has cut short his vacation. He's coming today, Tuesday. Today now when he comes, by weekend he will go to another country.
Is there anything wrong with that?
It's wrong. It's wastefulness. What is wrong in staying in Nigeria? This president is wasteful. And it is taxpayers' money that is wasting. And people don't want to say it. Everybody just say, oh, let us just be, he's going to look for investors.
But yeah, exactly, because don't forget that fact. That it's upon him to attract investors to the country.
Which attraction? The United Arab Emirates, that is today the darling of every investor, did they go sorting for investors? Put your house in order, investors will come. So the president should sit here and work and see that one, he is able to curb insecurity as the commander-in-chief, that is properly so called. Two, that he creates a fertile ground for business community. If Nigeria today, like our former governor used to say, I want to make Edo the hub. If they choose to make Nigeria the shock absorber of every businesses, I think it will be better for every one of us. So the president should stop wasting our money by going on frivolous journeys.
All right. At the point of
all of these monies that they want to accrue at all costs, I hope they are not gathering the money for 2027.
Okay. As a point of digression, did the governor ended up making Edo State a hub?
Which hub? The, what do you call it? They gave a Benin name, that business forum. What do you call it now? The business forum that they always do every year, okay. Once in every year. We saw it that it was a jamboree. After all of that, they will tell you MOU, 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 MOU. We were not the MOU, we are spiritual.
Okay. Let's get your thoughts on this, Matthew.
Yes, all these policy drives are not unexpected because before the present president took over power during his campaign, he hammered on taxation, taxation, taxation. In fact, at the funeral of late Abiola's wife the other day, the bishop who was delivering the sermon made reference to these tendencies of the government to tax Nigeria out of existence. He even ended up saying jokingly that he seen Tinubu represent as a replica of two biblical characters, Matthew and Zacchaeus. These are the known biblical tax collectors in the scriptures. And he said Zacchaeus on his own repented and told Christ, I have agreed that I overtaxed people. I want to refund what I've collected from the people. He said, this is the eye he's looking at, Yango is looking at Tinubu. It's not about collecting tax, even taxing the dead and the living. The question is Nigeria going to live on tax alone? Is tax the only source of revenue for this country? This is an oil-rich nation. The gas deposit in Edo State, for instance, is the largest in the whole of Africa. What have we to show for it? Our cooking gas is expensive, whereas there is gas flaring in the same region. We are burning and wasting gas through gas flaring. Yet we cannot have it to buy cheap for proper use. Is it that nation that you think when they now collect tax or taxes, then there will be Eldorado? It is a tall order. It is not about how large your house is. It's how well you are able to maintain it. Because the man who has a bungalow that is well kept is living a more comfortable life than the man who has a mansion that has leaking.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. Well, our time is almost up on this segment, but let's quickly get to Ahmed. Despite the fact that it was very hilarious what Matthew said concerning the administration of President Bola Tinubu as mimicking it or comparing it to Zacchaeus and the likes of the tax collectors, you know, in the Bible. But what do you have to say about that, Ahmed? Ahmed, over to you, please. What's your reaction on the tax policy? We sincerely apologize for the poor network on that. We hope to finish strong on this. Well, let's get your last words on this, okay. Frank.
Yes, on tax collection.
Yeah.
If the government is sincere, I want to 100% align with it, such that all persons in Nigeria that are due to pay taxes should pay.
All right.
And the government should wake up to its responsibilities to ensure that those monies generated be judiciously used.
Okay. Okay. Your final words in this 15 seconds, Emmanuel.
This one that they are asking every Nigerian to go and have a team. I hope it will not include the jobless ones and children, because we don't want to see a situation where the government will begin to tax children. Because even Zacchaeus, like my learned senior said, Zacchaeus refunded it fourfold. So the government should be cautioned in tax collection. Okay, your final words in 15 seconds, Matthew.
Yes, the government should bring a policy that has human face. Nigerians are suffering. Tightening the nose is not a way to lift the national economy, because you don't kill the people to grow the economy. You need people to have an economy.
Thank you so much, Matthew Edegase, for taking our time to be part of this discussion, and wish you a beautiful day ahead of you. All right, that's the much we can take. We now take a short break.